whatever the event is, I think it's been really important to me to say yes to new opportunities as they present themselves, to constantly be pushing myself, and knowing as well that there's going to be young girls watching me in those roles who will think to themselves, okay, this is something I could perhaps do one day as well.
Doing something that I love and being able to showcase stories and personalities of athletes, it's just, I feel so lucky. But like you said, Amanda, like it is not easy. It's a grind for sure, but I would not have traded that for the world. I think that goes along with playing sports too. Like that, it's hard work, it's dedication. It's like seeing that end goal and just like wanting to get to it.
Kelcey, one thing that is just so cool about you, and I just love seeing Canadians represent Canada, you are the only Canadian female NBA host in the US. What does that mean to you?
To be honest, I didn't realize it. My alma mater had reached out, and I guess they had done their research and said, you know, there are females working in the NBA and there are hosts and there are male hosts here, but no female ones. And man, I kind of understand why the visa process is horrible, but I think, you know, that old saying, like they always say, like, it's cool to open the door, but keep that door open for females behind you. I didn't realize that the door wasn't open. I am not just saying this to say it and to sound like female empowerment, but like, I really hope more people can get here. And I just really hope that those barriers aren't as big moving forward. And I hope that girls who maybe want to be in the NBA or want to be in the NFL can look at me and be like, you know what, it's not impossible. Cause I don't know if I really thought it was possible. I just was like, okay, well, this is what I want, so let's do it.
Now, Lindsay, joining the TSN family, Sports Center host back in 2016. Doesn't that feel like just so long ago now?
It's funny. Pandemic world, things feel like they happened yesterday and 10 years ago all at the same time.
It's so true. It's so true. Just speaking to your role, now you've covered so many things. I know we were talking on the phone the other day about the Masters, for example, NHL games, all of these big tournaments. But what would you consider your biggest career success so far?
I really think it's being an influence to the next generation in whatever form that may present. So you mentioned being involved in the Masters, being involved on our NHL coverage, whatever the event is. I think it's been really important to me to say yes to new opportunities as they present themselves, to constantly be pushing myself. There's going to be young girls watching me in those roles who will think to themselves, okay, this is something I could perhaps do one day as well. And when I was able to do an all-female NHL broadcast for International Women's Day, that was something that just made me really take a moment and appreciate the opportunities that I've been given, but also really be grateful to the woman who came before me. And I thought, you know, there's going to be lots of young girls sitting at home watching this broadcast and thinking to themselves, maybe this is something I could be involved in too one day down the road.
Lindsay is one of those people. When I first was making the shift from science to broadcast, we went out for a coffee. I remember it very well. Downtown Hamilton, Lock Street Democracy, no Wi-Fi,
Yes.
Great conversation, chai tea latte. And we were talking all about, hey, how do I do this? What's the next step? And very insightful. Reach out to people who you think could be mentors. Now, along the way, we met at McMaster University, which is partially answering your question here, Lindsay. So Kelcey, we'll start out with you first. Can you tell us about the degree you have, what university you went to? And I'm lucky we've all gotten a chance to play sport at university as well. What sport you played?
Yes, I played basketball at both Ryerson and Western. So I did a 4-year bachelor's of journalism at Ryerson. And then I was like, hey, in Canada, we get another year of eligibility. So I did my 5th year and got a master's at Western. I also played there. Both schools, really great. Ryerson is so good for journalism. And I think it prepared me a lot, even though I was in writing all throughout those 4 years. Just like getting thrown into the mix in downtown Toronto. And then plus, because at the end of that, I was like, oh, the Raptors are also here. You have the opportunity to, you know, get internships. And Leo would let me come to games and just like watch what he was doing. Like such great experiences. Loved being downtown. London's a little different. It's a little small for me, but it was a great school.
And Lindsay?
I did a double major in communications and film at McMaster University and also played varsity lacrosse. And I was also working for the Family Channel at the time. So I was able to go back and forth between Hamilton and Toronto and still work throughout my university education. And Kelcey, you mentioned having the green light when it comes to creativity and how important that is. Mac was really a place that I could try anything. It's where I started my first sports radio show. I think it was Monday mornings, really early. I would ride my bike into the studio and interview athletes. It was there that I really leaned into sport and figured out that this is what I wanted to veer from entertainment into sport and perhaps even combine the two one day. But I think it was just a community of support that I really felt at McMaster.
Yeah, I completely agree. I got the chance to play volleyball at McMaster, and it's just so great. Still saying we bleed maroon, Lindsay. Now, why do you think it's really important? I'll start with you, Lindsay, and move to Kelcey. Why do you think it's really important that young girls get the chance, the opportunity to play sport at a young age?
I think the values sport teaches stay with you for life. And there's so many character building moments in sport, whether that be perseverance, determination, learning how to lose with grace, learning how to get back up again, set goals, work with people who might be different than you, but you all have a common goal. And I think you learn those elements as a kid, and those will continue to grow and to shape you as a person throughout your years and your involvement in sport.
Lindsay, I could not have said that better myself. I work with an organization that tries to keep girls involved, and their big thing is that 96% of C-suite execs, they played sports as teenagers. Women drop out of, or girls, I guess, drop out of sports at 1.5 rate by the time they're 14 as boys, and then by 17, they're all done. But I will say, yes, sport teaches you leadership and perseverance and all the things that Lindsay just touched on, but it doesn't mean that you necessarily have to be an athlete. I know there's so many women that even work within the Grizzlies organization that were involved in sport, but weren't necessarily the athletes. Sometimes it can be daunting for, a 14-year-old who maybe isn't the most athletic to be like, okay, well, everyone's telling me to be involved in sport, but sometimes it's just not there for me. There are so many different ways to be involved in sport. One of the girls that I work with was a team manager for the Florida Gators for all 4 years of her school, and that paid for her school. She got a scholarship to be one of the managers. So you don't necessarily need to be on the team. Just being involved in sport, I think, can give you a lot of those qualities as well. So I think it's important.
That's such a good point.
Mm-hmm.
Now, just to wrap up this interview, I'm thinking it would be so great to hear some encouraging words from both of you about why you love to do what you do and the amount of dedication it takes every single day, not only now, but it took kind of coming up through the journey. So Kelcey, what do you think? Why do you love doing what you do?
I think from a very young age, I had mentioned that I just wanted to be my older brother. So I feel from, like 7 years old, I have really dedicated my life to basketball. My whole life is surrounded by this one specific sport. I played it all throughout 5 years of university. Basketball was my life, and kind of school was secondary. Don't tell my parents that. But now I have this job where I literally get to watch and talk about something that I love so much every single day. So I know this sounds so corny or cheesy or whatever, but I wake up and my walk to work, I'm happy. Waking up every day, doing something that I love and being able to showcase stories and personalities of athletes. It's just, I feel so lucky. But like you said, Amanda, like it is not easy. Working in Toronto, I worked for free for years. There was one time I was living like an hour and a half away from CTV. I would drive in for a 30-second hit to talk about March Madness and then drive home. That is nothing. It's a grind for sure, but I would not have traded that for the world. I think that goes along with playing sports too. Like that, it's hard work, it's dedication. It's like seeing that end goal and just like wanting to get to it.
I've heard so many times that luck is preparation meeting opportunity.
That's really well said.
That's what I think you're really, really getting to there. Now, Lindsay, what about you? Why do you love doing what you do on a daily basis?
I think something I tell to young students or broadcasters trying to get into this industry all the time is find your why if you're able to. So what motivates you? What gets you up and going every day, what just sparks joy and brings you passion. And if you can find your why and use that as your internal motivation, I think it's going to make everything just fall into place. So I go back to me, what sport has always meant to me and the values it builds in people, what I think it can do in bringing people together and communities together. And that's always been my internal motivator. Some of my fondest memories, and hopefully that will continue in years to come, is when you have young girls come up to you and say, I never thought about this career path before, but I've seen you on SportsCenter, or I saw you covering an NHL game. So I think it's knowing why you love to do what you do on a deeper level that hopefully will create connection amongst people.
Well, I'm so glad that you both connected with us today. Lindsay, Kelcey, one, it is so great to see your faces. And two, I think I speak for all of us when I thank all of the Marlies fans out there for being a big part of our sports career and where we're on our way now. Thank you so much, ladies. Bye.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Amanda.
guys. Bye, Kelcey. Bye, Amanda.